Hello, I have a early models Lewis winch from the Lewis Winch Company. It roughly would pull 4,000 pounds straight pull, 8,000 pounds with a snatch block. I wanted one of these for a while, and I ended up finding one online for sale. And of course, when you get something online, and especially when it's used, you take it apart and take a look at it. First thing I did when I took it apart was notice there was absolutely no oil in this machine. So, fear of that, I broke it down even farther. And I took off the gear case, found everything to be in order, and I filled it up with oil. Then put it back together, and I ran it. And as the gears would run, they didn't seal the bearings up back in the day, and as it worked, all the oil was pouring out of there, and I lost a whole bunch. So I called Lewis Winch Company up in Canada, and their suggestion to me was to use spray lithium grease to spray into the mechanics mechanism, and that's their fix for this early ones. Great idea, but one thing I decided to modify on mine was the only way you could really get that in there is the old drain hole plug right here. Well, I'm thinking if I do lose lithium grease in there again, it starts leaking out. I kind of want a way to put it back in there better. So what I did is I drilled a hole and I threaded it and tapped it. And what that allows me to do is when I insert the nozzle, and I lined it up, I'm going to be putting that the nozzle is going to come right over the top of the gears, right about in this section right here. Right where the screw hole is here, it's right about here. I'll be able to take in, look at my practice piece, I'll actually be able to take in, insert the nozzle, can bend up and bend down, and anywhere else I might need to in order to cover these gears as much as possible. My little bolt is set. I did set it up so that I got the threads will stop. So I did that the same way. I figured out with my tap roughly how far I have to go in. This is my practice piece. I know this is steel and this is aluminum. It's going to be a little bit different. You want to double check. And I know about how far I needed to go in to get my threads. So once I knew my threads were roughly about where I wanted them, I drilled in the body, and I set my tap, and I'm just through. I'm making sure I'm not too far through because I don't want to have any bolt or anything hit my gears. So now I'm at the point where I'm going to add the lithium grease, and I'm going to seal it back up and put it back together. I know the winch works, and this is just precautionary for the oil. I want to make sure everything that you're not even using oil. We're using the lithium grease. I want to make sure everything in the lithium grease stays in here as much as possible. I want this to run as long as possible. It's already an old machine. She's still kicking. We're going to keep using her. So they said roughly about 3/4 to a whole can roughly of the lithium grease. So I'm going to give it a good coating in here first. I suppose if you want to see how this works, your drive back here spins the gear here. Just because I know you guys want to probably see how the gear ring is before we coat this all up. And then that is turning the chain drive, which then the chain will hook up on the here, which will go on your drum up to there. So I'm going to insert the rest of the can through my top hole once I get it all screwed down. kind of get those down even. We're down sealed, so you can see better. I'm not tightening these down yet. I'm just going to get them snug. So I'm just going to get them roughly to bottom out, just to touch the top of the side plate here. It's kind of like putting a car tire on. So we're just a little snug here, nothing much. So I'm going to come up with my first one. Still loose. We're just tight now. We're just tight. I'm coming back. I'm going to come farthest opposites corners. Just snug there. Just snug here. Just snug here. Just snug here. So I'm going to start back over. Give it just a little torque. I'm happy there. Just there. There. All right, we're back to being tight there. Now, if you have a Milwaukee tool or some type of impact tool, don't use the impact tool to put the nuts back on. You're liable to strip them and you'll have a whole bunch of more mess to deal with then. Take them out as one thing. Don't use them to put it back in. Next thing we do, we're going to put our chain on. Of course, you got the camera running, so everything's got to screw up, be extra hard now. There we go. Put it back over. Now, got the cap off, my new one, and that will be used. I will use some blue thread Loctite on that. And now, just keep coating the inside of that can. Tell you what, we're just about filled up in there. We're almost out of this can. Definitely a little frothy in here. I think we'll call that good. Now, put a cap on. That will need to be blue Loctite again. And we have now, we've got the little loophole, air hole here. It's usually a machine screw in here. That's used to breathe for the machine, for the oil and everything else that's in it. Keep pressure off when you're running a bit warm in there. That's basically how you put it and take it, put it back together. Taking apart, kind of the same thing. Not going to do it. All four of these come off. Chain comes off. Lewis Winch tells you to pull the sprocket off. I pulled the sprocket off last time and everything came up, so this time I'm like, I'm not going to bother because pulling the gear and the sprocket off didn't do a dang bit of good, so because everything else came with it anyway, so I didn't bother. Once you get that screws undone, everything off, you're going to slightly come up underneath the cover, slightly bend up. Using 2 screwdrivers is usually the best, one on each side. You're going to come around the sides and just slightly come up every so often. Be careful of your gasket. I've been able to use my gasket, and I used a little sealer with it as well to make sure I could use it again. And I haven't had a problem leaking around the seal. The problem I've had has been leaking around the sprocket here. And every so slightly, just work my way back and forth a little bit at a time. Don't rush it. I was able to get my cover off and get everything back going. So I'm going to get everything finished here. I'll put the guards on here. That'll go on. I've got someone modified the handle. Got a piece of rebar now. When you look at a used Lewis Winch, make sure it's got all the pieces. I see a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them, that come up for sale, and they are missing the brake handle and the brake drum. The brake handle alone, this piece right here, is $80. I know because I'm buying a new one. This one originally, the pad was off and flopping around, and I just used some glue, some super glue brand super glue, and got the pad back on the brake. Make sure that you have yours. It just seems like when I was using it, it wasn't grabbing as much as I think it should. I don't know exactly. So I'm getting another one ordered. I'm getting a new cable for it. Brake drum, everything else is fine. I will be making this a direct drive. I did have the chain drive hooked up. Getting everything taken care of first. I did have a test with the chain drive. To make sure everything worked. That's how I got the cable back on. I took it on and off. You have your chain drive. You got your 3/8 by 50 chain. Put that on the right way so it looks decent for you guys. And this hooks up to your saw. You can run just about any saw off this way. Problem is, it's extremely front heavy. I didn't really like it. So I'm going to modify this eventually. I'm going to either get an adapter or make an adapter. Making an adapter, from what I've heard, you take 3 of your clutches, your little reusable or replaceable clutch, your 3/8 by 7. I'm sure you can use 3/8 by 8 sprocket as well. Get 3 of those welded up together, as long as you got the right size for your bigger chainsaws. I'm going to be using this with a steel 440 or 460, as well as a 660 chainsaw that I have. And hopefully I'll be using some work with this. I'll look and be doing some more videos with it. Only other accessory I'm going to be adding on is I am going to be adding, they added a handle eventually at one point in time. And I'll tell you what, having a handle here would be definitely helpful when you're grabbing it, whether there's a machine on it or not. I don't really like getting my hands in here when you're grabbing on. You're definitely going to scratch your fingers quite a bit. But that's what I'm working on right now. So I hope this video was very handy, helpful for you. I learned a lot working, and I thought I'd just pass the knowledge on to you guys. So if you got knowledge, pass it around to someone else. And if you know anybody else in need, give them a hand. You don't have to look for anything else in response. Don't take anything back. Do yourself a favor and just tell them to pass it along. And that's what I got for today, guys. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Watch my other videos. I got some other stuff there too. Tell me what you think. Thanks. Bye.